Hello, good morning again. It's 10 o'clock, but we see that a lot of people are still arriving at this very moment, so we'll wait a few more minutes, if that's all right with you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Petra webinar number 7, Pitch Like There Is No Tomorrow, where you will learn everything you need to know about pitching. So what's on today's menu? So today we will introduce you to the speakers. We will shortly introduce you to what is Petra all about. We will remind you what a pitch is, and we will give you an overview of a few common approaches that you would need to know before starting to prepare for your pitch. And in the end, we'll have a live pitch session with the pitching coach, Gleb Maltsev, and you will also get from him a personalized feedback. You also have the opportunity, of course, to ask all of your questions.
So, I'm Jan Bormans. I'm co-hosting this webinar. I'm leading the European network, and we are one of the members of the Petra consortium, and I'm very happy to welcome you this morning.
I'm Adele. I'm a European project manager at the European Startup Network, and I'm also very happy to be here with you today. And we also have a guest speaker today, Gleb Maltsev, who is a pitching coach and co-founder at Fundwise.
And we have some technical problems.
Yes.
Okay.
And so first of all, I would like to shortly introduce you to Petra. So Petra is a business accelerator, EU-funded business accelerator, and we help projects who receive their funding through an NGI open call to enter the market. Some of you might be familiar with our services. So what our services are, we have training services, we regularly organize bootcamps and webinars on different topics such as intellectual property, such as sales, marketing, or like here today, pitching. We also have mentoring services, individual mentoring from experts, from investors, from startup founders, and we also give access to networks, to networking. So, which means we give access to matchmaking, we connect our projects with investors and large companies. So, Jan, could you first remind us what a is?
Okay. So indeed, there are many different definitions of a pitch, and there's also confusion sometimes. So I like this definition given here quite a lot. So here it says, pitching is an opportunity to introduce your business idea in a limited amount of time, from a few seconds to a few minutes. The main goal of a pitch is to gain new customers, investors, or stakeholders to support your business. So this is the essence. So a pitch is about your business idea, about your value proposition, and you have a limited amount of time, and you introduce it to a new audience. That is typically an investor or a customer. So that's for me the essence of a pitch. So it is very important to know your audience, and I think we now zoom into customers and investors.
Indeed, one important thing we need to know is who is your audience, who is your customer. And for that, there's only one question. Who the man? Which means, so who has the money, who has the budget power, who has the authority, decision-making authority, and what is their need. So if you have the three, if you get to the man, so that's actually fantastic. But, well, I can say that more often than not, this is not the case. So it can happen, for example, let me give you an example. You get to a decider in a large corporation, and the person has the budget power, the person has the authority, but the need is with another department, for example. So this, you have to be aware of that. This is the most important. And also when it is a large corporation, adapt your strategy. Know your customer, but know also the company that is behind the customer. What is the size of the company? What is the sector the company is operating in? These are very important things.
I fully agree, of course. I think the key is adapting your pitch to your audience. And this is certainly also true, not only for customers, but also for investors, right? So investors, there is not a single kind of investors. It depends on the round of funding you're in. And so to just demystify a bit, we talk about the pre-seed round, you know, early on when you try to get funding for the team and for the prototype, right? Then we move into the seed round, which is about product and early traction into the market. Then we go to the serious stuff, Series A. It's about accelerating market adoption. And then we go to Series B, C, etc. And that's about scaling and market domination, or even world domination, right? So if we translate this to euros, it looks a bit like this. So you start basically with yourself, you're bootstrapped, but then soon you need money, you go to friends and family. Sometimes we say also fools. So the investment size is a few €1,000, and this allows you to go towards, let's say, 50 to 100K. Then you go to angels, yeah, that invest each maybe 25K, maybe 75K. And then early on, you start to get into seed VCs to get you to your first million of funding, and seed VCs will invest something like 250K or 750K. And then you're into the real venture capital, the traditional Series A, where you are trying to get funding in the millions. So knowing this, it's also really necessary to realize what their world is. Right? So investors per year, yeah, they see maybe 1,000, so this is for a particular investor we interviewed, they see 1,500 startups a year. You can imagine how many startups is every day. From these 1,500, they just invite 300 for the first meeting. Then from these 300, you get 80 that are invited back for follow-up meetings. Just 10 make it to the investment committee. Just 7 go to term sheets, and just 4 are going through due diligence. And 1 of 2 will be invested in. So you can imagine that if you enter this funnel, entering with a very good pitch is essential, right?
We would like to introduce you here to a few common approaches in order to be able to better prepare your pitch. So the first approach we would like to introduce you to is the value creation, value capture, and the value delivery approach. You might be familiar with, for sure. Then we have, Jan will introduce you to the 5Ps approach: problem, promise, process, proof, and proposal. And then Jan and myself will address the deal breakers. So what are the deal breakers? What can break a deal in terms of team, product, market, customers, competition, business model? So let me go on with first approach.
Well,
indeed,
before you say something, we need to stress that everything we say should be taken with a grain of salt, and even maybe a kilogram of salt, in the sense that what we explain here are some common approaches, but use your common sense, know your customer, know your audience, know your investor, and adapt your pitch for it. So what we are trying to give you here are some tools that are proven to work, but please feel free to adapt it to your style and to your audience.
Totally agree. That's a good point. So now, indeed, I would like to go on with the first approach, and we start with value creation, aka, is there a market? So these are the questions that you should ask yourself. What is the pain that you are trying to solve? What is lacking, actually? What is the gain that you want to create or amplify? What would make your customer happy? For whom? Here, remember the man. Who has the money? Who has the authority? What is their need? And last one, what is the total available market? Then we move on to from value creation to value capture, aka, is there a market specifically for us? So what is our solution? What is our unique selling proposition? What is our unique value proposition? And first of all, ensure that you know yourself, your unique value proposition, before being able to convey it clearly to others. What are the products and our services we offer? What is our business model? Do we have one? And what is it? And how to convey it clearly? Who are the competitors? And here I have to say that very often I hear from our startups, we don't have any competitors, which is not possible. You always have direct or indirect competitors. So if you think you don't have any competitors, just think twice. Then move on to serviceable, obtainable market. So after having considered the total available market, now what is the obtainable market? Is there a market for us, basically? Then we move on to value delivery, aka how will we do it? The how, this is very important now. So what are our key resources? What are our specific advantages? It can be in terms of HR, the team, the expertise of the team. It can be in terms of intellectual resources, IPR, which means it can be brands, it can be copyrights, it can be customer databases, etc. Then what are our key activities? What do we do? And who are our key partners? So this is the first approach we wanted to introduce you to. And then let's move on to another one, which is the 5Ps.
Yes, the 5Ps, because of course we like this kind of acronyms. And this is actually a process that has been used by the Started at KBC incubator in Belgium. And they have 5 steps, so not 3 like in the previous one. So they start with, the problem. This is essential. So describe the problem and make sure that you explain that you fully understand the problem and those that have the problem. So again, the customer, the user, etc. Then when you have convinced that there is a problem, then you make a big fat promise, right? So you make something future-proof, lying into the future, that is really exciting and that triggers your audience to ask, okay, great, give it to us, but how? Okay, and this brings us to the next step, the process. So you should then describe how you're going to realize your promise. And there, don't make the mistake to describe 20 different detailed steps. That doesn't work, right? So narrow it down to 1, 2, or 3 items. Then we need some proof, because the audience at this stage will say, okay, we are very excited by your big fat promise. We believe that there is a process, but okay, prove it to us. And so there it's important that you show a prototype or some data studies about customer, about the market. So whatever you have to make the previous things credible. And then don't forget, because a lot of people forget, that at the end you have to end with a proposal to your audience. Yeah? Ask, so what do you want? Yeah? If it's an investor, what's the investment you want for how much equity? If it's to customers, what's the call to action to buy? Yeah? So this is the 5P approach, which might work pretty well for your case. Then, final approach is that we want to proactively address potential deal breakers that, and then especially investors might have with your pitch. So we could be proactive and to try to go inside the mind of an investor. And we interviewed a lot of investors and asked them, what are the main reasons you don't invest? So the idea is to turn that around, yeah? Knowing that these are possible negative elements, illustrate that you know that these are their concerns and try to explain why you do perform well. And so these deal breakers are typically the product, the market, competition, customers, and the business model.
So first of all, let us focus on the team. So what if the investor doesn't believe in my team? What if the investor doesn't believe there's an expertise, specific expertise in my team, for example? What if there's no personal fit? And here it can be actually on the side of the startup or on the side of the investor. This can happen. What if the startup is not ambitious for the investor, for what the investor has in mind? What if there's a lack of knowledge, meaning in the team, lack of expertise? What if there's a lack of key people that will be needed actually for the project? So these are the things that you have to take into account, and that are actually the deal breakers.
So indeed, so these are the potential deal breakers that might be in the head of an investor. So it's your job as a pitcher to turn this around, right? So if you think that there is, I mean, that he might think there is a lack of knowledge, you're going to demonstrate in your pitch that there is knowledge.
Address it.
Address it,
right?
Exactly. The same with key people. Make sure that you prominently explain who your key people are. Right?
So be aware of it and address it. This is key.
Exactly. The same goes for your product, right? So for your product, concerns are that the product doesn't work, that it has bugs and problems, and then it's also important to define work, because work for the researcher and work for someone who wants to put something in the market is not always the same. So be clear about what does work, what you have. You know, scalability, problems and robustness. Okay, so maybe you have one prototype, but can you make 10,000? Can you make 100,000? What's your roadmap there? Maybe the investor will think, well, this is not really innovative enough and it's using outdated technology. For NGI, I don't expect this to be a problem, but in general, it can be a problem. Again, does the product solve a problem? And then can we make, you know, what's the user experience, what's the user interface? And so people often talk about minimal viable products, but in fact, it should immediately also be a minimal lovable product. And a lovable product has a nice UX and a nice UI.
Indeed. Then there's the market. What if the market is not big enough or complicated or not growing? What if it's the wrong timing, simply? Or what if it's outside of the VC scope? So this is very important. And again, it's okay if the market is complicated or not big enough or not growing, but just be aware of it. Just be prepared, anticipate, and address it. Yeah. This is really, again, I would like to stress the importance of it.
So if you think the perception of your investor is that the market is very complex, explaining why it's not, why your view of this market is very simple, how you can simplify it with your approach.
Own your story.
Yeah.
Actually.
Competition is related, of course. Maybe the investor thinks it's too crowded. There's no clear differentiation. So discuss your competition. And as Adele rightfully said, you always have competition.
And customers. What if you're at the seed stage and there's no traction? And at the seed stage, the main thing that you need is users, customers. What if there's no traction? Then if you are Series A in plus, what if there's no growth, no possibility to scale up? And this is what you need at these stages. What if there's no clear need, no clear problem, or you target it wrongly. You have the wrong targets, you have the wrong segments. Again, this is fine, but know it and be prepared to answer the questions, to anticipate actually the risks and to anticipate the questions that an investor could ask. Be in the mind, think like an investor, to be in the mind of the investor when you talk to one.
Yeah, correct. And finally, the business model. So it might be that the investor thinks your revenue model is too complex, that he cannot see profitability. So it's important that you really master your unit economics and metrics. You also have to be able to explain your customer or user acquisition strategy and the cost that is associated to that. That's a very important metric. And again, if there is no clear or unique value proposition, yeah, then I think we can forget about it. So these are things that should be explained. We are at the business model. And so we explained 3 potential pitching strategies that it's up to you to adapt and mix and adapt to your audience. But we said business model. We also know, I think, the business model canvas is something that is a visual representation of your business model, and that is allowing you to communicate with various stakeholders in a very efficient way. But what is maybe less known is that you can really use it as a checklist, right? As a checklist where you must be sure that in your pitch you cover these 9 elements of your business model. And I will show you a video, which is the winner of Startup Fest 2017, which is a pitching competition in the US. And you will see it's a very American pitch.
Oh, yeah.
And I would like you to think about the business model canvas while you listen to the pitch. It takes exactly 3 minutes, like often is the case in the startup world. And then we'll see what this means for the business model canvas. A second.
Let's see it.
Stressed out, trying to plan all of life's celebrations. I mean, I got little Susan's graduation, I got Ted's birthday party, and of course, football season is coming back. I'm gonna plan a tailgating party for that. I wish there was one easy solution for me to order all my party supplies, just as easy as booking an Airbnb. Wait, there is. Party on Demand is your one-stop mobile party supply shop, delivering the party to you in 1 hour or less. We deliver the 3 essential ingredients you need to wow your guests and have an incredible, memorable party. We deliver food, talent, and decorations right to your door. Bam! With our partnerships from Uber Eats, Grubhub, and Postmates, delivering that tantalizing food that's yummy, yummy in your tummy. In addition to that, our friends over at Amazon Prime are hooking it up with our crazy curated party box that's delivered to your door. Plus, we have over 1,500 incredible talents of dancers, acrobatics, and even your own personal chef from Benihana, Katachi. All starts with the box. Party on Demand has already partnered with over 35 of the world's largest companies and brands that's going to give you the cool thing. Pinterest, Etsy, deliver in your box and all exclusive right to your door. Oh man, it's going down. Our app is simple and easy to use. And less than 5 clicks from your phone, your party is on. With over $251 billion in its licensing and rental industry, celebrate their birthday in the U.S. alone. Hey, not including over 500,000 people that just have a great social and celebration as well. With that, Party on Demand situates ourselves between the sweet spot of affordability and convenience. Now, our revenue model was simple. Nowhere, and I mean nowhere, can you find food, talent, and decor delivered to your door same day for the incredible price. Wait for it, $299. Ow! Make you want to shake something. We're asking for $1.5 million in exchange for 15% equity to give us a 15-month runway and yield profitably about $7.5 million. Party on Demand was inspired by my father, who passed away from cancer. But before he did, he said, son, celebrate life more often. Whether that's your job promotion or getting an A on a test or even crossing the street, celebrate life every single day. Now you don't have to stress no more or wonder how to put on a really cool party and impress your friends. We can do it for you. I'm Big Willie G, the CEO of Party on Demand, and we're helping you, and your best friend sitting next to you to party and I'll see you at the party. Woo, woo, woo.
Okay, so as I commented before, and also as one of you commented in the chat, this is of course a very American pitch, and I'm not suggesting that you copy the style, because this might not at all be appropriate for you. But the guy did something very intelligent. So he had just 3 minutes, and he described various elements of his business model very well. So for instance, the customers and the value proposition were very clear. Also how he's going to reach the customers with his app. His partnerships with Amazon, all these are very clear. So if you put this on the business model canvas, you see that he covered all but 3 aspects very well. And now comes the smart thing that you can do in a pitch. So because you can more or less anticipate that an investor or a jury or the customer will ask about these aspects, you can intentionally maybe not mention something so that you let's make a trap for your audience to ask the question, and then you can be prepared, and that's very positive. So let's see if this guy did this same trick.
You are a force, and I would never want to go against you or bet against you, but to get to the numbers, do you have the unit economics in terms of how much does it cost you to acquire a customer? And of the $299, what's the contribution back? And so how long does it take for you to recoup?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we built in a total of 50% profit margins overall, right? So out of our $299, it only costs us $150 to land the box to the door to the consumer, and $150 come back to the company. We're really excited about that. Our curated party boxes have a 70% profit margin put into them, so it only costs us $20 to $25 to create a curated experience for the consumer. To acquire them, we're only working with our Facebook ads at the moment, and right now we're currently hovering around $5 to $7 per CAQ.
So I'm going to avoid the temptation to ask you if you drink coffee. But so as you expand into new markets, and I wonder, is Willie G the force of nature that makes it possible? And have you thought about how to clone that into other locations? Because I'm not sure that's easy.
No, I concur. Well, thank you for that. Yes, that's the most important thing. Opportunity for our platform is to encourage and nurture great people who just want to inspire, have a great time, and more importantly, celebrate life responsibly. And we feel Party on Demand will be that platform, allowing them to do that, and hopefully have 1 million Willie G's out here.
Okay, so indeed you see that where before the cost structure was not clear at all, he left it almost completely empty. He got the question he wanted, and he was extremely well prepared.
He was prepared to.
He was extremely well prepared. So also because your audience has a limited time of asking, so it's like almost suggesting a question. On key activities and resources, key resources, he also spoke, because the question was in basically how do you scale using key activities and resources. And there I have to say that I was a bit less confident. But anyway, it's an illustration how you can use the business model canvas as a checklist for your pitch to make sure that you can check all the aspects you have to talk.